Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another backstage interview from the Metals Investor Forum. I am joined right now by Michael Povey of Gold Basin. Mike, the actual conference was a few weeks ago now, but we waited a little bit to have this call for you to put out another news release, which came out a few days ago, and that's with some drill results from a target called Stealth that's part of the land package. So why don't you start by explaining what Stealth is relative to Cyclopic, which is the main body at the project?
Yeah, okay, thanks, Gwen. Good to see you again.
Yeah, hi.
The Stealth deposit is only 900 meters west of Cyclopic, but it's always been a slight enigma historically because it's on a ridge area, about 100 meters above the elevation of Cyclopic. And it's fair to say that when we started the new drilling in sort of 2019, we had no real idea about the structure there because there's quite a few historical drill holes, a lot of really good thick intersections, but various people in the past had interpreted it as maybe a vertical structure there. So we kind of had it on the back burner, always known it was there, that we needed to do the initial drilling in Cyclopic. And what we've learned from Cyclopic is unexpectedly the level of continuity that was there. That really hit us. We knew there was flat lying structures there, but you can see from some of the news releases I put out there, some of these sections, that it's very, very flat lying. We tend to think it might have been hydrostatically controlled, in terms of how flat everything is. We get these thicker pinch and swirl sort of areas, both north-south, and we get them east-west. So we're kind of understanding the structures of Cyclopic now. That's what we've got, and as I said during the presentation, we know we need to step out from the central zone that we've been drilling there. But what it's given us, though, is a knowledge of overall what's in the structural basin area where we are. And then revisiting a lot of these historical holes that are at Stealth, it's sort of stuff which is slightly frustrating that we can't kind of use, because it was 90s. While I think the assay stuff is really good, I don't think there's any real issue with that. It's the lack of some down-hole surveys, which will probably restrict its use with regard to any future resource work. But there's enough holes there, and now remodeling those holes on the basis of the knowledge we've got from Cyclopic, we can see it's exactly the same type of layered structure, except for the fact that we've got these thicker intersections and grade slightly higher overall in this main section that we're modeling. In fact, there's almost, when you model it, there's almost a solid wall of material there, and it's where they've drilled some quite extensive holes, really. I mean, I suspect we've got 40 plus holes in that area. So we've kind of got a good starting point, and that's not the only place. We know there's over 700 holes on the property in total, and they were drilled in the late 80s through the mid 90s, and with no real idea of this underlying structural petroleum mineralization that we got. Some of it was early on was drilled in Cyclopic, where there were 100 grams of high grade material. Other areas have gone north and south on the strike, drilled at various angles, shallow depth, deeper depths, or what have you, with no real model in mind. But what that said, while that was probably frustrating for previous workers, what it's given us is quite a good database that we can now tie into what we've learned with our new drilling. So we've got a really good idea about this flatline structures across it, and how it sort of seems to be controlled now. Sure, big gaps where we've got lots of targets and things where we need to work. But Stealth itself, really, with the 2 diamond holes that we did, and we got the assays back, those 2 holes really confirmed the historical mineralization. They really said, yeah, this is the same, this is what's going on. We've got very similar thicknesses and similar grades to the historical holes that were nearby. So it's an obvious target, to be honest. I mean, we're going to have the new drilling program, which will be started in next month. We will probably put in a few more diamond drill holes in this to get a little bit more structural information. And we'll tie in both the Stealth and the Cyclopic drilling. We will have to repeat most of the drilling at Stealth. I've got little doubt in my mind about that. But we're working from a premise where it's not really speculative at all. We know there's enough there. We know there's a deposit there. So we've got to redefine it now in a modern sense, is what it amounts to, which is what we want to do. And seeing the 2 things are too close together, it's really easy to coordinate the drilling between the 2, and just So we're hoping to move both the resource numbers up for both Cyclopic and to generate a new modern resource for Stealth at the same time.
I mean, it must have been satisfying to get those 2 drill results after having gone through this process at Cyclopic, where again, you had all these historic holes over a big area, and you and I were chatting before. I mean, there were some places where there were drill holes pointing in every direction because nobody had really understood how it all came together. And then you and Charles went through and sort of did the work and understood. Now you understand what the Cyclopic deposit is, which is a bunch of very continuous flat layers, basically, that host, good continuous mineralization. And then so to see that essentially happen again over at Stealth, where you've got a bunch of historic data that you can't officially turn into a resource, but gives you lots of confidence that what you're drilling into has mineralization, but you just need to figure it out. To see it happen again at Stealth, that's got to feel, comforting or exciting or somewhere in that range.
Yeah, no, it is quite exciting. In fact, when we look at the intersections, what's really interesting and kind of like an extra confirmation, of what's going on is that the lower intersections at Stealth, they lie at almost exactly the same RL elevations as the upper stuff at Cyclopic. Yeah, essentially, there's 100 meters difference. So when these deeper holes, you can just look at it and rotate around and see that they should join. Essentially, we don't know if they do in the middle, and actually, we don't know what's caused the uplift or whether this is just an erosional thing in Cyclopic. Right. But the bottom level with layers, you see these lines pointing at one another. Sort of 100 meters down on the Cyclopic on the Stealth holes, you're lining up with upper levels of the Cyclopic. So, at some stage there was a whole, the whole thing was obviously mineralized all the way through. We kind of hope most of it is. There was also something really interesting about the structural drilling that we did. I mean, these two holes were primarily just for assays, but we wanted to work out structurally what was going on there. That sort of helped a bit, significant. But what we found, underlying this entire Gold Basin project area, there's this Proterozoic banded gneiss, and
right, yes.
Right, yes. And what we found was that it was mineralized in these holes. And that was really not expected. And to be honest, we don't know what that means, but it could mean a lot because, our geologist, Cal, who's over there, he said, essentially, when you've got mineralization and that kind of rubbish, there's something going on, and it was totally unexpected. So we're going to explore that a little bit more with some of the diamond holes that we want to do. We do have some, as I've said to you previously, they're not our only targets. We've got a number of targets in the Gold Basin area. There's a lot that's not been done, and that's what makes it really particularly exciting. You see stuff there that's not really been touched since the 1920s. The drilling that was done in the 80s and 90s didn't get close to some of the older mines that were there, the typical prospector mines and workings. We've just flown a couple of geophysical surveys in different modes, both magnetic and what they call a hyperspectral survey, and we're identifying targets which match up with what we know about deposits already. So we're not going to be short of targets in the area. That's what makes that really exciting. But when you see older prospecting type areas and you think, well, we haven't gone there yet, we'd like to put some drill holes in over there. So we've just got to keep ourselves focused to increase this resource where we currently are, and we'll add Stealth to that and we'll work out logically. But it's nice to be in an area where, one, we've got this flat line mineralization, and that is so, like, as you know, I've said many times, I'm a mining engineer. It's Christmas as a mining engineer. This is all shows up to be, essentially, it's a massive gold envelope underneath the surface there of Cyclopic with these flat structures. Once upon a time where people, they would have not understood the data they were looking at. There would be this low-grade stuff and then nothing alongside it. And now we know that essentially these layers just sort of pinch and swell. Some areas, they sort of swell into one another. And you can drill 5 meters away from one and you'll have a lower grade section. And then 5 meters again, you might have a higher grade section or a thicker section, So you just sort of take it as a whole. And overall, there's very little in the way of, waste within this system. It's essentially all mineralized with just thinner layers of essentially no mineralization. I can't see any way of separating that out at the moment. It may come with more data, but at the moment, it just looks like you're going to bulk mine this right from surface. We're only gone down 90 meters in that area alone. So we're pretty spoiled. That's why it's pretty exciting. We've got, only down 90 meters in Cyclopic. We've got Stealth there. We've got another target to the south we know has got, some good historical hits. And we've got areas to the north as well. We're going to trend towards the northern area. There's a mine there, an old historic mine, so we're going to do part of that with our expansion drilling and then expand out from Cyclopic to the east. And then with the same drill program is going to encompass this stealth area. So 15,000 meters RC drilling, plus we're going to do a bit of diamond drilling. We haven't decided exactly how many holes yet, but we know we've got some, so as I said just now, some structural information and a couple of kind of interesting targets that we might just have a look at and see what the geology is doing there.
Okay, so 15,000 meters, that'll take a couple months. And then the goal is to certainly wrap a resource number around Cyclopic, stealth, at least Cyclopic and stealth at the end of that, as a starting point for this asset.
Yeah, we need to get one of those out. We like it to be, a good one. Go out so that's, naturally enough, especially when you've got that sort of potential. So our intention is that we want to try and get 2 rigs on the drilling. We're negotiating on that. We've got one that's coming. We're trying to get another one, to get there to move this a bit quicker. At the moment, I'm sort of like 60-70% confident that we'll be able to do that. His rig's been a bit tight, as you probably know, but I think that I think that's going to happen. So we want to move that along a bit quicker. And, we're, as I said, we're in a fortunate position where we're also going to have metallurgical work being run at the same time. So that should start soon. The stealth diamond holes were 2. We had 4 in the main cyclopic body. They were large core, PQ core material. So that's nice and big. We've had our guys, it's all been logged, it's all been assayed, and now we're using KCA in Reno for them to sort of decide on the composites they want in order to actually get all the lab work underway for this, this heap leaching profile, which, again, that's 3 months of work at least. There's a 90-day leach period. So resource and the metallurgical work, we're kind of hoping that will be realistically, say February.
Yeah.
Maybe February, March, that sort of range, depends exactly how well things go on their drilling. So that would be the target for that, and hopefully we'll have some good news, and we'll talk about our other targets as well then as well.
Well, it's an asset that's got a lot that deserves testing, and staying focused is almost your biggest challenge because there's so many things, but you have a plan. You're about to start drilling when others may be getting a little bit more quiet. So I look forward to keeping up with the news as it happens. Thanks for today.
I appreciate it, Gwen. Thanks very much.